difficult to cut out a Cassante. Rifty opting into the flash this time even, so there's no ghost for him to be able to chase down.
There's gonna be some change from Rifty here in game number 2. At the earliest, his performance needs to improve, but being in this situation might be very, very tough for him because there are 5 members of Verdant around him. Not a good start as he gets chain CC'd. If he flashes over the wall, he'll go right into Erol, and he doesn't want that. He's aware of the possibility, and Verdant secure first blood with a nice bit of cheese.
And Kevo comes into bot lane with an extra longsword. I mentioned that Denvox and Nash have got a really winning 2 versus 2 to begin with. Ooh, yeah. That's going to become a little more difficult to exploit when there's an extra longsword for Kevo. It means that those trade patterns of the Ezreal do become even stronger. It means he's going to hit that first item power spike even faster. Is already just 350 gold away from the Caulfield's Warhammer. Didn't buy a 4th potion on his way back to base, so he's currently sat with 50 gold in his back pocket. But instantly, with Taxa down on the spot side, we can see it's panning to that top side for the Lee Sin, helping Neely out and trying to find a lead before this Cassante gets too strong on the armor department, and they can no longer take him down.
Really nice level 1 there from the side of Verdant. As you say, will make a difference for the bot side, but overall just good to see this Verdant roster on the same page. They've been surprising so far, but let's see if they continue that in game number 2. A good start might be built upon here in this game as you say, Taxo rotating up towards the top side. It is No Name though, pathing from top side towards the bot side to secure his bot lane's priority.
I'm I'm slightly interested that we see full clears from these junglers so frequently. I've actually seen some early ganks pan out. I think that when you have a Rakan as well, for an example, I think that No Name could have profited a lot from trying to at least burn some summoner spells down on the spot side and give Ruddy an advantage in the early stages. It's something that we didn't see from them in game number 1. We saw fairly full clear-centric jungles and then nothing particularly happen in their favour and just solo kills, 2 versus 2's isolation for Verdant, generate them enough leads for them to take the win. Now Neely already trying to find a little bit of an advantage, has spotted out that No Name has at least taken the Krugs, and from that you can infer, okay, started on this top side, he's likely going to be on the bot side right now, and means that he's got a lot of free time on this top side. As long as he doesn't get ganked in the immediate future, he knows there's going to be a minute, 2 minutes where he's got free reign over this Cassante.
I got that little bit of an advantage and a little bit of extra pressure with the jungler there. As looking at the mid lane again, I want to see if Nida, yet again, manages to outperform Erol on the CSing department at the very least, able to build up that 30 CS difference last time around. Before Erol, though, outplayed him and managed to gain himself a solo kill to tie it up in that regard. It is Nida now, at the moment, in control of the wave. Will maybe be able to deny Erol a couple minions here.
Tax actually going for a fairly early recall on the Lee Sin. Cleared up toward his top side, has now reset and wants to get back out on this bot side as soon as possible. His Jax is absolutely fine. They know that the Vi path down toward this bot side as well, so let's see if they can match on a 3 versus 3. And this is really good timing from Taxa actually. The way that that wave is pushing for Verdant means that there's going to be in a wave's time, it's going to be really compromised for Cly and Kevo to push that out in a 2v2 without Nash and Denvox now threatening an engage. So just being there to shadow is exactly where both of these junglers really need to be.
Yeah, they've just spotted each other as there is a 2v2 happening. Kevo getting taken quite low, but they flash on Denvox and secure that kill as Nash forced to flash as well. Taxa unable to secure it with a couple more autos. No Name misses the Q. Taxa goes back in to trade aggressively, but yet another win for Verdant.
Exactly the timing that Verdant needed. Taxa is there first. Kevo Cly are in a dangerous position because they have to push this wave and force a crash that then Voxnay Nash can't freeze. And then Nash and Denvoxnay force a fight around that, but Taxa's there to stop it. It is beautiful recognition from the Verdant jungler, knowing exactly where he needs to be on the exact window that gives Ruddy the disadvantage, means that they can't keep that wave outside the turret. Despite No Name's best efforts there as well, it will crash, it will bounce back, and it keeps Verdant winning.
It's a really, really good performance from them so far. And I'm gonna be honest, it is so refreshing to see Taxa this series because he has been good this split. I think he's been one of the best performance junglers in our league, but his style has been the more passive style, play for the big moments in the late game. His smites has been incredible, of course, but in this series, his early game has been so phenomenal, and it brings me back to how he was playing early on in his career. He's not unfamiliar on this, and his most played champion throughout his very long career now. And just seeing this reminds me of the, BTXL Taxa days.
The good OGs will remember that one as Rifty. I mean, he's got 6 here. Doesn't quite decide to go all out. I think nearly holding that counter-strike is enough, but he's going to miss a sizable portion of this wave. Taxa just in the area, and you can tell. I think there was one danger ping thrown up there, and Rifty's spidey senses start tingling a little bit, has to back away. And the fan of the west end of that trade, it's good to see Rifty, at least for now, pushing back this top lane.
And Ruddy, though, they will respond knowing where Taxa is by taking this early Drake to build that up for themselves. Also, having pushed in the bot lane, they can take this without any repercussion at all. And it's a nice little early game Drake here for Ruddy.
A good little boost for them. Fairly decent early Drake as well. Little top-offs here and there, just in case your trades aren't going all that well. Early game recall for Rifty is a Bramble Vest, so we are immediately trying to stop any form of healing coming through from Nilla and get a little bit of reflex damage as well for every single auto attack thrown down, with the double armor components that it builds out of as well is going to do just wonderfully versus the Jax through these early stages.
And just talking a bit more about how great Verdant's performance has been so far in this series, I want to remind you and the chat out there, when we had a chat early on with Clyde in the split in one of his post-game interviews after a very close win, he mentioned the fact that at the moment, they didn't feel like they were actually on par with the best teams in our league, but the goal was that they could secure the playoff spot and then they could be able to compete against anyone in our league when playoffs came around. And so far, they've shown that steady progression throughout the split, and they even reached their goal of being able to challenge anyone earlier than expected by doing it in week 6.
That win against Riddle, really one of the deciding points for Verdant in their playoff juncture. Remember that them and Vinia were in a little bit of a battle going into week number 7, but they won that battle, find themselves in a position where they're in the playoffs now. Clyde trying to bait a little bit here onto Nash and Denvox. Now you can see with no stun, now the Ruddy bot lane want to try and step up a little bit, but do they know that Tax is here? That waiting game, that guessing game of the enemy jungle's position, certainly going to need to be played.
Yeah, a pretty good ward there. Denies Taxa from moving up any further. Nash now could be a bit too far forward. What's happening on top as well? Flash forward, but on the bot lane, the gank came through. Nash dies.
Beautiful. I think that we saw Taxa engage just as we panned away, just ward hopped behind Nash, found a kick, and you can see made it maybe halfway back toward Denvox, then maybe even died on the battle dance back. But No Name is also level 6. Neil is low. I think this is very easy. Yeah,
this should be easy. No flash on Neela, so he can't really get away. He has the counter-frag available, knocked out of the turret range to ensure no one takes too much turret damage this time around. Nicely done from Ruddy to pick up that first kill of the game.
Okay, so delaying the Jax's scaling. I do still favor this for Verdant, finding another kill on Kevo. The thing is, right, by getting this kill, it means that they're delaying Nile being a win condition and Rifty rather on the Cassante. A champion that can 1v19 fights, but it's much harder than an Ezreal to find super carry gameplay on. So we see a Rift Herald contest secured by No Name.
Goes in for the flip, unable to get it. Cease and desist available. Flash to ensure that it connects. Nash dashes forward as well, but unable to follow up really. As now it's actually Ruddy on the run as we regroup. And yeah, don't lose anyone.
4v4 on that top side, but ultimately the Rift Herald going the way of Ruddy, an extension of that top dive that just is allowed to be executed by them. Denvox, they made his way up. Oh, great flash from Nita there, just in time. Make sure that Clyde can't find that stun. But we saw Denvox on the minimap actually move his way up toward this top side, threatening that he could join the fight had it have gone on for too long. Kevo didn't make that trade, and that's, I think, why we get to see this largely unscathed top side action. But Denvox stayed just in time, back on that bot side. He's able to secure the massive wave that was going to be picked up. And overall, it's not too detrimental for either of our bot laners. And actually, with the win on the top side, Ruddy are in a decent enough position with the Herald.
This game a bit slower than the last and way more in the middle ground this time around. Not as exciting of an early game, but it's still Verdant coming out on top at the moment in pretty much any given situation. I want to bring it back to a mid lane and just take an update on how it is going there. It has built up to a slight CS lead in favor of Knight. And this is one of the things that Errol talked about earlier when we interviewed him back in the beginning of the split as well, where we talked to him about, well, how has this jump from NLC Division 2 up to NLC Division 1 has been? And he mentioned particularly the laning phase, experiencing playing against way better players at the laning phase and just being punished more for your small mistakes. And we can see him being punished for a couple of mishaps here, just losing, that 15 CS in that regard.
A little bit of a trend then starting to form in favour of Naito with the CS advantages game to game. Didn't convert into any real advantage post the laning phase last game, as we see cease and desist ready on No Name, not going to be able to find an engagement onto E-roll this time out. But we're going to get a little bit of a glimpse as to how easy it is for teamfights to be executed for Ruddy. You have Vi Orianna, that is one target's death signed and sealed as soon as you want it.
Nash blocks the Sonic Wave, but might not mean much. Is in
goes
Texa, too far forward, taken down by Denvoxner, and now Ruddy on the chase. They want more, and they'll get it as well. Clive falls. In return, though, he does find him with the back. Kevo now running, and this might be a bit too far forward for Ruddy, as Nash forced to flash away from the Chaos Storm. Survives in the end as Nash able to get out. Ruddy, though, might still be looking for more. With Naito rotating down, they decide against it.
And one fight, though, for Ruddy. 2 for 1. They only lose No Name, where in response, Cly and Taxa both fall. So a win for the Ruddy side in the bot side of the Rift. Kills go on to Denvoxner. Kills go on to No Name. 2 champions that are going to do very well with the gold. And only one response kill in favour of Taxa. So Verdant here coming a little bit up worse for wear. And Ruddy just starting to find the glimpses of hope that we saw from them, thinking at least coming into this series.
Things are looking way better for them this time around. As Verdant start up the Drake, we look for the top side, because what happens there? Well, Nila might be dived again all out, straight into the hands of the waiting No Name. Unable to secure, there's a good jump out now. Rifty, the one in trouble, forced to flash over the wall. Nash locked up, but he's able to dash over with the grand entrance. So that's why the big difference maker has been this game. It's the top side, because last time around, Nila was 3-0 by now, solo killing Rifty left, right, and center, and now it is Verdant, or Nila rather, needing help from the rest of his team to stave off the attack from Ruddy on the top side.
Oh, Denvoxner has no ulti, has got cleanse.
Oh, Kevo! A bit too far forward! Denvoxner, no flash though, and Kevo barely survives. He secures the kill as well with a true shot barrage, and for Denvoxner, you have to feel bad for him almost outplaying the 1v2.
Gale Force Burst there was actually off the charts for Denvoxner, unfortunately not quite enough, and Ruddy don't get anything on that bot side. It is just a 1-for-0 for Verdant. Capitalizing on the overextension for Denvoxner, he doesn't quite have enough damage in the tank to find a trade kill there. Really well executed again by Taxa and Kevo alike. As soon as Kevo is under a little bit of threat, instantly Safeguard Shield gives Kevo HP, and he arcane shifts away, recognizes that the threat there is if he dies, it's bad. So instead, stays alive for as long as possible, uses the True Shot Barrage from a long enough range that he can't get caught out, and just provides the added amount of support that Taxa needs to finish off the Xayah.
So 13 minutes in, this was when this game last time around slowly but surely started getting a bit more explosive, and the leads getting out of control. Got out of control, but this time we're at a dead even game state. There are, in particular in the bot lane, we're seeing a very strong Kevo, having gained 3 kills and 2 assists, 100% kill participation. But the top lane, that is the difference maker. Look at how Rifty at the moment is able to push in the waves, win these small trades, and I'm excited to see how much this means for the grand scheme of things when we get towards these 5v5s in the later game.
Doesn't look like any of these leads are going to have too much of an impact for right now. In fact, if we look at items, Nila is actually completed Mythic versus incompleted for Rifty, so may feel a little bit more emboldened to actually take these longer order trades, particularly with lethal tempo as well. If Nila can get an all-in, that's when he's going to find an advantage, whereas Grasp of the Undying for Rifty becomes a bit more of a short trade pattern favourable for the Cassante.
Oh, yeah, as you just said that, Nila wants the long fight against Rifty, and he gets it.
There we go. Mythic versus no Mythic, and once again Rifty unfortunately falling down on this top side, the 1v1, despite the early ganks from No Name, despite the couple of efforts from Nash as well, not enough to offset this Jax's Mythic lead, and a great capitalization from the Verdant top laner, once again performing above the expectations.
Yeah, that is absolutely massive. Let's see what Ruddy can get back, though. They want to make moves on the bot side, where Erol is alone. No flash for him. Can clear the wave pretty easily with the Death Ray. A couple minions still there as the Chaos Storm comes out, but to no avail. It is Nash who picks up that kill, and now Denvoxner can continue to push in another wave, maybe even get a turret.
Fairly easy to execute there on the bot side for Ruddy, but that is a response play. It's not them being proactive, it's them recognizing they don't have Prior on the top side, and trying to do something elsewhere. Second Herald falls, it's Verdant taking that one, and the first turret of the game also going to Nile. Independent of any real efforts of Verdant, it is just the top lane difference that we're seeing in this series, amounting to enough of a difference to give Verdant an advantage across the rest of the map. Turret will fall in the bot side, so Ruddy aren't completely unresponsive, but it is still gold lead in the top side for Verdant, and Nile again setting up his team to carry.
Yeah, Nile has just had that masterful performance. I just talked about it earlier that I thought Rifty was doing particularly well that game, but Nile just able to abuse the one time when he really was ahead, not being pushed underneath the turret, not losing the trades, and he took it and ran with it. I think that was either his third or fourth solo kill in this series, and we're only 1.5 games in.
Not looking good for Rifty, and it's worth, recognizing that the Scion is getting a ban drawn every single game from Ruddy. We are seeing Verdant ban that out every time, but you should be able to fall back on something as well. If you've got one ban thrown at you and you're finding yourself getting solo killed, it is a bit of an issue, and clearly one that Ruddy are going to need to address the remainder of this series. Game not by any means over, though. Not like this game is being completely written off just because of that one solo kill, but it is a trend. It happened last game, and then they were able to snowball from this Verdant. Of course, Ruddy have already picked up more kills in this game, just 16 minutes in, than they had in the entirety of game number 1. But with that Rift Herald, they're able to finish off this tier 1 turret. Only the bot lane tier 1 standing before that outer sweep has been finished.
And not much left now as the gold. They're still within 800. Second Drake to be picked up here from Verdant. And what is still a very even game. Anyone's game at this point, as you might be inclined to say. If we look at scaling though, I want to start talking about that slowly but surely as we potentially actually have a fight here. Maybe Ruddy wants to stop this second Drake from going down.
The engage tools for Verdant are a little bit lacking. They're very telegraphed, right? Whenever Clyde's got stun primed, you have to be fearful, and you know that he's got flash, so you don't want to be standing all that close to the Annie. And Nile, you can see, just trying to look for these flank angles, but Ruddy have got enough engage in their own right. Then Roxanne needs to get here.
Clive finds Nash, but there's no follow-up, and now they look to turn it around. They've found 2 Texa, forced to flash away. Clive falls in the front line. As then Voxner now looking to get more, but a bit too far forward. CC'd up, has to cleanse it out, but he's down to 20% HP. Nida doing some damage in return, just poking down Erol, but no one finding each other, as it's just a 1-for-0 in favor of Ruddy.
You can see that Verdant, they're feeling more powerful right now. Their health bars are higher, and they want to try and take this dragon.
Reset from Rifty. He's now back with full HP. That's a fresh front line, but Nida so low. The flash in though, and now they can take Kevo. Flash away, but it works. He survives. He turns it yet again. How can Kevo not die as he finally falls to Rifty, who all outs now, but in a 1v3, he's set to die. Then Voxner stopped by the Drake in his recall, and Verdant claimed the ultimate prize.
You could see that Verdant were feeling themselves. They'd still got cease and desist ready. No name as soon as Kevo ease forward. It is the Ezreal sin as old as time. No name spots it. Q flash into cease and desist. But Verdant, they have just enough to follow up Kevo, help him out in this instance. And yes, he falls, but it means that Rifty sacrifices himself. No name and Nash both sacrifice as well. At the end of the day, taking the AD carry down is great if you're Ruddy, but if you're giving up 3 members and a dragon for it, we do have to question its validity.
And these fights have already proven to be explosive and extended, and I think this game could be cooking up a very interesting couple of team fights, Rude, as the scaling slowly but surely continues. Just to round up, that was the Drake for Verdant. Big point for them, as they could look to get that Inferno Zone in 10 minutes time.
But just look at the difference between our AD carries right now as well, because that actually had a really big impact. Kevo had got the Navori quick plates in that last fight as well, but you get to see what I was talking about with this build path just being superior. The amount of times you can E forward and then E back out so quickly because you're cycling your cooldowns that fast genuinely baits in your enemies quite significantly. But moving forward, with that outer turret on the bot side still standing, wouldn't be surprised to see Verdant expend a little bit of resources down there to try and find something.
Whoa, that is a season that flies a mile, but it works. Kevo just dies. They all follow up, and now it's Verdant on the run. As Ruddy look to chase them down, they've found 2, and it's the 2 that they want. They can turn towards the Baron. with this.
This time they've got the follow-up ready. This time Nita with Flash, he gets just in range with the shockwave, lays it down and helps out the squad. Nash goes in with the engage, also following up on No Name. Really good capitalization from Ruddy. And this time when Kevo is too far forward, they spot him, they take him down. Baron on the cards, Taxa is here. He's alive as Lee Sin. And now Rifty, the rest of Ruddy, they've got to run anchor and stop him getting in.
Newly spawned on the Rift. 6k and dropping. Taxa unable to find the right angle to try and get in. 4k HP now, they know where it's at. They have the ward in the pit. Taxa has done this many times before this split. Down to 1900, he can get in. He can secure it. No, Erol gets it. As Voxner tries to chase down Clyde. Can they now win the fight? Taxa, he'll get taken down. Erol will fall. But does it really matter? You've got the Baron burden.
Kevo and Nile, the only ones that have still got that Baron buff, but Ruddy, they should have had that for themselves. Really split decision-making from them. Look at how far apart they all decide to go. Den Voxney turns off the Baron, decides to go for Cly. We've got Ruddy running up on the Rifty running on this top side. I think making the right decision, trying to get Taxa out, but they don't commit as a 5-man to either of these plays. And between Lee Sin hopping into the pit, the Chaos Storm in there as well, there's enough disruption to give the Verdant Baron over. And despite Ruddy finding themselves a great fight on the bot side, it gets turned around in a huge way.
Oh, that feels so bad for Ruddy, who were able to almost get the whole hand on that one play. The Baron was spawning as Kevo was taken down, so they decided to instantly go forward. And now, obviously, only 2 Barons remain on the side of Verdant after losing 3, but they do not care. They were the ones who got the successful steal, and still, the Baron is on your split pusher, Nile, and on your main carry, who will need to be protected in Kevo.
Yeah, so you can do a really good 4-1 still with this situation that you found yourself in, Baron in your back pocket. And if you can just control 2 lanes, you can set up nicely for some Drake takes as well. If you want to play through mid lane, play through bot lane and control the bot side jungle, it sets you up quite nicely to be able to take that Drake, put you on soul point, and you've already got yourselves a Baron that you weren't expecting to have, so you can actually accelerate how fast you close out this game. If you want to use this Baron to take down some tier 2 turrets as well, that just adds to the gold that you've got, adds to that discrepancy between Verdant and Ruddy, and gives Verdant an extra advantage, puts them in a position where they can very easily put themselves at a 2-0 state in this series, in a best of 5, to decide whether you go out of NLC as the 4th seed or go on to a matchup against Nord for a position in the EMEA Masters.
That is a incredible thing you're saying there. I did not expect that to be even a possibility when we came into the series. I just thought Ruddy were that bit better, but Verdant, it's not that Ruddy have disappointed me in that performance. That game one was shaky to some degree, but I am more so shocked by how good Verdant have been. They are playing to a level that we saw a couple times in the regular season, but not with this consistency and this high level of proactiveness and leading the game. I'm so impressed by this team at the moment.
Has to be said that the majority of this has come from Nile as well. I have been, truly impressed how well he's dealt with that top lane. From getting ganked in game number 2 as well to still being able to find solo kills. It puts a real good nod in the Verdant camp. But it's worth saying that Ruddy are still very close in gold right now. 1,000 gold in their back, or in the difference between the 2 teams. But Verdant, with this Baron, you can see they're looking to engage. Kevo dashing forward here, trying to bait on to make sure that Verdant have got a chance. See if they can find the fight.
Kevo looking for the damage. The wave is pretty easily being cleared out by the side of Ruddy, except for the big one, obviously. That will take some more time, and that slowly but surely chips away at the turrets now. They just move down toward the bot lane where the Baron buff is also active. And they could look to take down this turret instead. Yeah, TP into mid lane, yeah. Nile is just dead.
This turns out they didn't need a TP, but now they may be able to go a little further if they want to take this fight. It looks like with the Baron enhanced recalls on a couple people. Actually, it's just the one now with Kevo, the only one with it left standing. But their Baron push consisted of 2 turrets in the bot lane. Drake is spawning as well. We've got 30 seconds on that one. Nile has TP, so we'll be ready for it. Tax, my good king, you are in the wrong side of the rift, but no cease and desist means you should be okay. And with Nile on that Drake timing being about the same status, expect this 5 versus 5 to decide a large swing in this game. Gold is relatively even if we take a look at the items. There's no discrepancies in real lanes that are going to be too different. I can see this once again being an execution.
Yeah, it's the hands that needs to be checked one more time as a soul point now on the Rift. Eyes on Knight of 404, 2 items on him. Can he find the big shockwave? Kevo has flash, has heal, should be able to survive quite a lot. But he needs to dish out the damage as well. He cannot keep missing as Nile looks to enter just from the back line. Took the turn on here, but feels safe for now. He's trying to rout them off. 3k HP and dropping on the Drake as they now look to go in for Kevo. He's locked up with the season assist. He flashes away and he stays alive. And there in the back line goes Nile. He finds them all, and as he gets all outed out, it is already a one fight for Verdant, who will pick up 3. They could look for more as Rifty and Knight are forced to run. A soul point is the prize for Verdant.
And Verdant, they just expand and collapse at perfect intervals to bait Ruddy in and then constrict them in the river. Nile, flash engage with the counter-strike, finds a massive stun. And Rifty does his best to all out in time, but it's already too late. As soon as that counter-strike lands, Erol explodes his combo, Clyde the same thing, and Verdant dominate Ruddy in the river. They take the dragon, they take a fight, and they're going to take game number 2 if they're not careful.
Oh, this is so good from this team, man. I am so impressed. I cannot wait to see the replay. Such a clean turnaround. And it was clear that Kevo, he's still the one they want to target, but when he has flash and heal up, alongside the countless number of arcane shift, he just dashes 5 screens away before you even manage to lock him up with the season assist.
And now if they go for that again, they've got stopwatch on Kevo, so he's going to be able to immune No Name's engage entirely if they look for it. These shockwaves just not quite being where they need to be, unfortunately, for Naita. Yes, he's the one with this 404 gold lead, or kill score, winning mid lane, but hasn't been able to turn this into a full carry on a team fight just yet. Baron spawning in a minute's time now. That's going to be your prize. That's where the eyes of Verdant and Ruddy respectively are both going to be. But with Verdant now with a decided advantage in this game, they're going to be the ones dictating how it gets played out.
It's now the pressure on Ruddy, it almost feels like, because they were the one to pick the last couple of fights and they have not won them. The goal lead is still just 2k, so the game is very much open, but the execution, it's all down to the hands. Erol now caught out, has the flash, but good damage back onto the box there. As he now flashes over the wall, the TP comes in as well from Nile, but he leaves his mid laner to die, as he instead finds
Erol's
2 other kills
alive.
he finds more attractive. And yeah, Erol still alive for so long before he finally falls, and that now means Verdant can dash forward, as that's a magical snipe from Kevo to secure 3 kills for Verdant.
10 seconds on.
No way you go back in here. Why are you doing this, No Name? He just falls to Nile.
That's going to be tier 2. Going to be Baron as well. Verdant, again, just team fighting beautifully. Have to just slightly be querying the decision making, I think, for Ruddy. I know that their composition goes in. I hope we get to see a replay and just get to look at quite how they got to this position. Baron's going to go down as a formality, but I think when you see Erol here, we should just be focusing the Victor. He doesn't have a good flash angle, and if you can take down that Victor, it makes that fight significantly easier for you moving forward. Instead, you go on to somebody who's going to, have a lot of maneuverability to get out to safety, and the amount of chaos that Erol causes in the backline, it cannot be understated because he's spending so long dishing out damage, distracting all, really, of Ruddy. Decidedly, then Voxnay and Nash were both just chasing around this Victor for as long as possible, but Baron now in favour of Verdant. Soul point for them as well with the Infernal Soul spawning in 2 minutes time. That is going to line up beautifully for when they come out of this Baron timing, so they can make their full push with the Baron, get maybe an inhibitor turret at the very minimum here, and then default back to the Infernal Soul and make their next pushes, their next team fights, even harder for Ruddy to try and win.
I'm a bit shocked because it's some of the inconsistencies we saw from Ruddy throughout the regular split that are showing in this series as well. But the fact that Verdant are able to punish them for it is some of the things we failed to see against Ruddy earlier in the split, where other teams were playing against them. Ruddy might have shown some inconsistencies, but they were still just heads and shoulders beyond their competition, so they managed to pull through in the end and win the games. And here in the playoffs, it's just not happening the same way because Verdant have leveled up massively.
Massive wave in this bot side for Verdant. Hopefully they can push this through to the tier 3. But you can see they're actually spending a little bit of time using Nila in the mid lane to try and split the resources of Ruddy. Just not quite on the right window here. 2 cannon minions are going to take a while, but as I say this, right, the mid lane is now under fire. Nearly gets a couple of autos down before he has to leap strike back out to safety. Wave's not quite synced up. Now we get to see that bot lane crash, and it does create this give and take, but one that Ruddy can answer. They can answer this bot wave, clear it out, and then move back into the mid lane to clear out that wave that's going to answer. Verdant would like to see them try and stall a little bit on the next wave to try and make this Baron really hit hard, because that's what they're missing at this minute.
Soul up in 30 seconds as well if Verdant want to turn to that, but I'm looking at Coulson, not Coulson, rather Nida now, sorry. That's a different player I'm mentioning, but also someone who's very good with the shockwaves when it is needed most. He had that image in the Danish scene to fight the crucial shockwave. 3 items, level 3 ultimate as well now, level 16 hit by Nida. If he finds a good shockwave, it could still turn the game, and that's what we're starting to look at now, because Ruddy need those big moments to go that way.
30 seconds left on the Baron. Looks like they're not even going to bother trying to push in a final wave, but that Drake is going to be set up for at the very minimum. They are ceding a little bit of ground and giving Ruddy a good way into the jungle. The Drake should melt, and you can see that Verdant are at least holding a decent enough aggressive line. And I don't like that they're giving Ruddy so much space.
Yeah, the Drake is definitely gone, but Ruddy could look to go in here and try and punish them on the exit. No Baron available, but they only find Kai with Nash's engage, and now the re-engage comes through from the side. 3-man kick from Texa, and now the fight is fully erupting, and no one dies on the side of Verdant. They can just chase them down. A double kill for Nila as Texa now looks to seal it. The TP, a bit of BM you might say from Evil to keep the wave alive. As it is No Name who's able to take it out. He focuses on the wave. That's all he cares about because he knows he's dead here. He knows this could be game. As Verdant just dominate another team fight.
They could look for top lane. They've got a little bit of a wave here in the mid lane. I don't know that this is going to be game without the Baron. Denvoxnay, No Name, Denvoxnay and Rifty rather are both back up soon enough to have stopped that from going down. With Nita still alive, wave clear exists. Whether it's easy or not, of course, a completely different question. But Inhibitor at the very minimum, tier 2 and possibly tier 3 on that top side also going to be the prize. Ruddy, they're going to get one more attempt, and boy, do they need it. That engagement was not it. We saw Nash go in. He only found Clyde. There was a shockwave that whiffed on everybody from Nita as well. So this tried and true tested engage from Ruddy that we've seen isn't really working out. We've praised Nash for his Rakan in the regular season. It looks absolutely incredible. This series, though, in particular, it's not quite having the effect that Ruddy need.
No, and they need it to have an effect now because there are no more mistakes to be made for Ruddy. If they don't want to lose this game, obviously it is a full-on best of 5, possibly. There could be 3 more games after this, potentially, but for Ruddy, going 2-0 down is not a situation anyone wants to find themselves in, especially after these misplays. They showed you're able to compete at this level, and now just falling a bit apart. It's a horror scenario for the British organization.
Verdant as well, British organization. You know, it's a bit of civil warring at the very minimum. But you are quite right. The Ruddy are not in a great spot right now. And with an inhibitor down in the mid lane, it gives you permanent pressure as Verdant in the mid lane. Like to see them head up toward that top side. You have got Baron spawning in a little under now a minute's time. Get those resets through, everybody. Let's spend our gold. Let's have one final 5 versus 5, one final exchange on the map, one fight that decides how this game ends up going down. Of course, it's a fight that Verdant are going in with a massive advantage. 10,000 gold, if you want a number for it specifically, and numerous item advantages across the board.
Verdant pushing in the mid wave here, 30 seconds on the Baron. And we can see Ruddy already setting up a trap. I think Verdant are feeling that something is awry. As he's now channeling it up. No, they don't sense anything. The TPs are coming through. The fight is blown out. They're going for Evil and they're locking him up. But then Voxner disappears off the rift. Nida being chased down by Nila. Yes, the shockwave is good, but it's simply too little. It is simply too late. It is 4. It will be 5 for Verdant as they look to claim game 2 and take themselves to match point in this series.
Denvoxnay doesn't use ult, doesn't use flash. He gets absolutely annihilated by Nili on the collapse. No Baron needed, no structures in the side lanes. Verdant will march it through mid lane and secure themselves series point.
Verdant are good at League of Legends. I am shocked. I did not expect this performance, but the whole team is playing so damn good. I'm at a loss for words. This is wonderful to watch.